sources of development. Our next speaker will be Mr. Upul Jayasooriya, President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka. I invite Mr. Jayasooriya to make his presentation.
Honorable the Attorney General, the Chair, Professor Gill, Professor Jonathan, and the head of the law faculty of the Kuttalavala Defence University, learned ladies and gentlemen, and the students. Before I commence on my topic, I had to make one little correction. There is a comparison between US and Sri Lanka. I thought of making this clarification because the Attorney General in our country, Professor, is the most senior person in the Attorney General's department. He is appointed on qualification. So he is a public servant, and we are proud to have a person in the caliber of Mr. Palita Fernando in the chair. In the US, it's a little bit different. He's a nominee of the president. Probably he has to go before the Senate committee and then appointed thereafter. But it is most often not necessarily the most senior person in the Attorney General's department, particularly not the Solicitor General. But we are proud that we are in a jurisdiction where the seniority. And talking about Mr. Fernando Palita, had our primary education till advanced level, and then we joined the same stream a few years later. As the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, I would take 2 minutes to explain what the Bar Association is about, since I see in this gathering there are many ladies and gentlemen who would one day put on their cloak and then walk down the corridors of Halstoff as possible lawyers in the future. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka is not a regulatory authority. It's a voluntary organization, but it is recognized by statute. The Judicature Act makes reference, and then certain duties are burdened on the Bar Association with regard to the disciplinary control of the attorneys at law. There are disciplinary committees that are appointed from nominees of the Bar Association. These appointments are made by His Lordship, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And on matters of professional conduct, these matters are referred to the Bar Association from time to time, apart from the other matters that we embark upon. And also, all lawyers, irrespective of whether you pay your membership subscription or not, you become members of the Bar Association by virtue of your being called to the bar. So we have a common brotherhood, a bond, a thread that we are bounded together as members of the bar. I just thought I would take this opportunity to digress for a moment to enlighten you on what the bar is in a nutshell, what you would be joining in the future. I've been given the topic to speak on something relevant within the scope of the development of horizons through education, research, and the new horizons. I just thought of picking the rule of law and the equal opportunities within the framework without giving much heartburn to my dear friend Pratibha, without causing too much problems to him. We in Sri Lanka, land like no other, are blessed with many an opportunity. We do have these opportunities. Out of nearly 66 years of independent rule, we have been fighting a civil war which lasted more than 32 years. We are just out of the woods, maybe 5 years since that precious day. But we have to look for the future with positivity in order to reach this goal of expanded development horizons. It is imperative to go through a critical analysis of the past, the present, and the future, drawing possibly examples from the neighboring countries. What is rule of law? Rule of law is ruled by law. Mechanical process. It is to be enforced by men. That is why this universal rule can be called a golden thread that binds all of us together. That is the equality before law. If the law is different from the rule of law, from the inception, even the tiny tots, the children, know what is fair and unfair. Before even they start their education, the little ones know what is right and wrong, what is black and white. When little brothers and sisters fight, they run to their parents, mother or the father, and complain and say, that's not fair. The father or the mother give the final decision. There is no appeal except, of course, to the grandparents. Let's take it from the cricketing world. A decade ago, there were no independent umpires, but the game has now developed. There are independent umpires, and the electronic data is being utilized to make it known and transparently known to everyone concerned that the decision given is the right decision. This is important even to our day-to-day life. The most important thing in one's life is to play the game according to the rule. The rule or the law is equal to all and sundry. That is why the Lady of Justice is blindfolded. She holds the scales of justice in one hand and the sword on the other. She sees no social iniquities, big or small, caste, creed, race. The social or the political status is of no concern. The scales of justice is held high and above. Equality and rule of law, talking of these cardinal principles, Nelson Mandela, in 1964, during the commencement of his Rivonia trial, the trial that was going to decide his fate and many others for the rest of their lives, and also that of a nation, he had to say this: during my lifetime, I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and a free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. Winston Churchill also said, Nelson Mandela said this facing the white judges who were going to sit in judgment on him and the others. This was a fight for equality and the rule of law to be enforced on those who were facing trial. Now the question was whether the judges there were independent. They were white judges deciding on black men, but that was the law of the country. The judges were all white. Black men had no status quo. So this issue has come up many a times in different fora with regard to the judges, the appointing process of the judges. Winston Churchill had this to say once. He said the judges should not only be frustrated, they should be perceived as frustrated by the society. They should be independent. Drawing a parallel with the Sri Lankan situation, this was fought in a case nearly 16 to 17 years ago, in which I happened to be a junior counsel at that time. Edward Silva was the Shirani Bandarnayaka. In that, it was decided that the best process of appointment of judges should be in consultation with the Attorney General, the Chief Justice, and the Minister of Justice. But I do not know the Minister of Justice should have a role to play in this. No system will function, be it education, economy, governance, or the system of justice, if it is not driven by laws that stand above the people and the rulers with equal opportunity to polity. Article 157, let's draw parallel of this same situation with regard to the investment fora and development. Article 157 of the Constitution of the Republic ensures that investment protection from countries will be protected on the basis of the investment protection treaties that are entered into between such countries. But whatever the investment protection agreements that were there up to that time, not many have been entered into since then. But even in situations where such investment protection agreements are entered into, are in place, one has to examine to see whether these agreements have been given effect to. This is necessary to give the confidence to the investors to come to Sri Lanka and invest. A country that needs very much the investments from foreign countries, foreign lands. The investment protection, the environment should be created to make them comfortable, to make them feel that they are secured with regard to the multi-million dollar investment that they would make in our country. There again, the rule of equality has to play a role, because they should be made to convince that the system that is in place would give no better opportunity or no better advantage to any other than the one who merits justice. Governments which have a regard to common interests are constituted in accordance with strict principles of justice, but those that regard only the interests of the rulers are all defective and perverted forms, for they are despotic and tyrannical. This was said by Aristotle in the 4th century, 1600 years ago. Therefore, all law means drawing a distinction between just and unjust, formulated in accordance with that most ancient and most important of all things, nature. All laws are there to serve the people and save the people from authoritarianism and repression. Whatever law a man makes for another, he should keep for himself, said Thomas Aquinas. To each and every one of us, the law has to apply, and has to apply equally. Take Singapore, the closest example in the Southern Asia. Singapore gained independence in 1959 with the Federation of Malay.